talking. You left out gold and silver in your commodities.
You're right.
You left them out, and I wanted because people are going to probably sit there going, "Why did he talk about gold and silver?" And I wanted to talk about that and what people could do. First of all, what do you think about gold and silver owning the physical metal? My sources are telling me, and I have people that buy for rich people by the ton, and they say the demand is off the charts. And silver eagles are off the charts; they're running out of them. But the long and short of it is, what's your trend for gold and silver, physical metal, not GLD, SLV, gold shares, that kind of thing? What's your trend for that?
Here it is: U.S. demand for gold bars and coins up 207% this year. The World Gold Council, global demand rose nearly 10%. And it's not only the people that are buying it. Central banks, the purchases reached 175 tons, near the record high level for the same period last year. Third quarter U.S. demand for bar and coins, as I said, was up 207% from a year ago. Global jewelry demand picked up 15% in India. China investment demand grew 70%. So, as you pointed out, when I talked about commodities, I left gold out of it. Here's why. I just read the demand numbers, and you're telling what you know as well, people buying the stuff up. That's the difference with gold and silver. The other commodities, demand is way down. Copper, iron ore, aluminum, zinc, everything is down. Demand is up for gold and silver. And again, to me, it's the ultimate safe haven. Greg, I've been saying now, when gold started collapsing back in particularly 2012, 2013, that the bottom of gold was around $1,050 an ounce. I've been saying it forever. I gave that number out because that's about what it costs to pull it out of the ground. You're seeing demand of the physical go way up. I believe, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and everybody that knows me, I don't talk about issues about 9/11. I don't talk about things that I don't have solid proof on. So I don't want to go out of that realm because I like to stay with the data that I have. So I stay away from things like that. I believe gold prices are being manipulated with all of the naked shorts. You could go back to when the last collapse of gold started happened on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Within 3 minutes, some 30 tons were shorted. And this was a day when the Japanese markets were closed. Now, we know the facts. The facts are these. The LIBOR rates, the interest rates, they're rigged. The Forex market, 5.3 trillion a day being traded, rigged. Not a conspiracy theory. 6 banks were convicted, not charged, convicted of felonies for rigging the markets. So, why do I believe the gold prices are so low? Because it goes back to the central banks. If people could see the fraud of all of these trillions of dollars and yuan and euros and yen, this digital currency printed on nothing and backed by nothing that has falsely propped up the equity markets for a while. They could see what a fraud it is. Why would you want to own those currencies? You'd be flocking into gold, and it would kill their Ponzi scheme. Now, I mentioned about the declining currencies. Suppose you live in Brazil. Hey, suppose you live up there in Canada. Was the dollar? It's down about what, 25%? The Canadian dollar against the U.S. dollar. Would you rather have gold, or would you rather have loonies? Would you rather have real, or would you rather have gold? Would you rather have Turkish lira, or would you rather have gold? So that, to me, is what it's about. It's about planning for the worst. And as you mentioned, we're not talking about GLDs. We're talking about physical. Look at demand in Europe. up 35%. It spiked as the refugee crisis started getting worse and more war talk started heating up. So the people, that want to prepare ahead. Look, what are you going to do? Put your money in the bank? What do they have, negative interest rates?
Is the spike in gold and silver demand, is that a precursor to this crash you're talking about?
I totally believe so.
So you think that the signal, the big rush into gold and silver, is signaling a big crash coming and coming soon?
Yes, because again, everyone knows. Again, I'm not making this up. In this quote free country of ours, with the central bank, this private group that's running the show, we're not allowed to read their minutes until 5 years later. How about, I got it. We're going to bomb other countries to bring freedom and democracy? How about starting here? So anyway, go back and read what happened as the minutes were coming out 5 years after the Panic of '08. It's right there for everybody to see. They didn't have a clue what was going on. They were totally out of their league. They don't know what they're doing.
And you think it's worse now?
It's definitely worse. Look at the bubble they've created. Again, a $225 to $250 million debt bubble.
Trillion.
A trillion. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. $1 trillion. Yeah. So again, go back to the emerging markets. Go back to one after another. And look at their currencies collapsing.
So little guys are sitting here going, wow, what do I do? Do I hold some cash? Do I go buy gold? Do I pay off my house? Do I get my car tile? Do I buy food? Do I buy water? Do I buy dog food, cat food? Do I fix my plumbing? What do people do to protect themselves from this?
Well, again, only speaking for myself, because you know the motto of the Trends Journal, think for yourself. So we put out the information, then we tell people, you do what you want with it. You like it, don't like it, fine. Here it is, here are the facts, this is why we see it happening. Speaking for myself, I have GC's 3Gs, guns, gold, and a getaway plan. And, I'm about an hour and 45 minutes north of New York City. Remember a couple of weeks ago, they're talking about a terrorist strike in New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the chaos you'd see?
Oh.
Yeah, try getting north out of New York City.
Yeah.
You got these tiny little bridges. You got the 3rd Avenue Bridge.
I used to live there.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about.
It's a bottleneck
The Henry
city.
Hudson.
The Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah. You're not going to get out.
It's GW, yeah. Well, it'd take you a long time.
It would take you a long time, and then suppose, at the worst case scenario, they whack a nuclear power plant like the Indian Point power plant. You're going to see chaos like you've never seen before. So what I always say is prepare for the worst. Because if the worst doesn't happen, you lose nothing. If the worst happens and you didn't prepare, you can lose everything. So for me, that's it. It's guns, gold, and a getaway plan. I have maybe 2 months worth of dried fruits and water and those kind of things to take care of myself. If things got worse than that, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going north. I'll go to Canada. It's four hours away. And from Canada, then I'll decide where to go from there if there's going to be that kind of chaos. So that's the worst case scenario. And by the way, that was my plan, and I've talked about it as soon as it happened, following 9/11. First thing I did after I called up the person I used to be going out with, to tell her to get all the money out of a bank, Marie Pierre. She's back in France now. They wouldn't give her her money in Key Bank. But her being French and demanding it, she got it. The number 2 thing I did after I hung up the phone, I picked up, I had my money. You used to have a thing called interest rates back then where you could put your money in the bank and get back more than you put in there. I had CDs in Fleet Bank. Fleet's gone. Anyway, call up. I wanted to wire transfer the money to Rhinebeck. Our offices were in Rhinebeck at the time. Sorry, Mr. Celente. Certificates of deposit of financial instruments traded on Wall Street, and Wall Street's closed. Yeah.
A lot of people are going to not get their retirement. I mean, when Wall Street breaks down, is that a trend for 16? I tell my friends, you think that your wealth, these stocks and this stuff, if the brokerage goes down, you got nothing. Cipic's got $2 billion or something. They got very little for Securities Investment Protection Corporation.
Exactly.
I mean, do you think people are going to lose everything?
I'm just telling you what happened. I could not get my money out. It was closed for a week. If there's a terrorist strike, they will use this as the excuse to rob us, to try to figure out how to mitigate the disaster that they've caused. So I believe that if things get really bad, they'll close the Wall Street. They'll call a bank holiday. Holiday? You can't get your money out. How many more countries do you have to watch to see it happen? Cyprus, Greece. It'll happen. So what I believe they'll do is they'll devalue the currency. That's the way they're going to get us out of this. So go back. A wild thought? Go back to 1933, that lovely bank holiday that they called the Federal Emergency Banking Act. Gold used to be pegged to the dollar in those days at around, I think it was about $22 or $20.67.
$20.67. That was the going rate, $20.67. A $20 gold piece is a little less than an ounce, 0.967, I believe it is, because of that. They had to make it by 67 cents, which in today's money would be about 4 or 5 gallons of gas.
All right, so now, being that you know the deal, after they forced the people to turn in their gold on the penalty of law, what did they do? They raised the peg of gold to the dollar to $35. Ta-da! You just lost 70% of your purchasing power. Right?
Yes.
They'll do the same thing. I believe they'll devalue our currency. They will use a terror strike, false flag or real, to close the banks, close Wall Street, and steal more of our dough to bail themselves out.
Gerald Celente, the publication, the Trends Journal, the website, trendsresearch.com. Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal. Thank you for the preview of 2016. There's a lot. You put out a lot of information. This just skims the surface. I took a look at your third quarter publication. You were talking about, new inventions like things like carbon material that are basically eliminate all friction, and you do all kinds of stuff about why we don't have democracy in America anymore. And I suggest that people become a subscriber if they want more of this information. It comes out all the time, quarterly, monthly, alerts, all kinds of things. Thank you, Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, for coming on USAWatchdog.com.
And thank you, Greg Hunter, for all that you do and for having me on. Keep up the great work.